Tonight, I will be giving my problem solution speech on the problem of childhood obesity in America. Now, unfortunately, obesity has become the norm for our society when in fact it should be viewed as a serious problem. We need to recognize when baby fat is no longer a valid excuse. In fact, according to statistics, a third of our nation's children are overweight. Experts are saying this is attributed to an increase in unhealthy eating and a decrease in exercise. Over the past 3 decades, childhood obesity has increased by 15%. Many are turning to parents as the root of the problem. As the old saying goes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. These children are learning all the wrong ways to eat and stay fit from their parents. What parents don't necessarily know is that by allowing these unhealthy behaviors early on, concerns like diabetes, self-esteem issues, and other health problems are developing at higher rates than ever before. We must realize that in order to put an end to childhood obesity, we need to educate parents and children about proper nutritional practices while encouraging habitual exercise routines. Growing up, I learned a lot about nutrition from my mother, who worked as a dietitian at many hospitals and now works at the WIC program, which is the Women, Infants, and Children nutritional program, educating others. Fortunately, she gave me a lot of insight, and I realized that our country is facing an epidemic, and that is the problem of childhood obesity. Since I have already presented the problem, I will continue by conveying the horrible consequences being overweight in childhood can have on adulthood, ineffective solutions to solve the problem, and then successful ways to stomp out the dilemma we face as a country to defeat childhood obesity. It's necessary to look beyond the first stages of life and realize the choices made early contribute drastically to the future. In most cases, childhood obesity turns into an adulthood issue. Dietary and health habits are learned young, and as we all know, bad habits are hard to break. According to Time magazine, estimations are being made that by the year 2020, 44% of American women and 37% of men by age 35 will be obese. Not surprisingly, most of these Americans were obese since childhood. The threat of diabetes and a decrease in self-worth and other risks like heart disease are looming above the young generation as they begin to age. Prediabetes, which is a high levels of blood glucose indicating an extremely high risk for the development of the disease, can develop during childhood and turn into type 2 diabetes later on. If not treated properly and a healthy lifestyle isn't adapted, nerve issues, eyesight problems, and other types of infections can develop. As reported in an article by Mayo Clinic, childhood obesity doesn't only have physical repercussions. Being overweight can lead to self-esteem issues, including bullying, the development of poor social skills, and even depression. Dejection about self-image is therefore carried into adulthood and worsened as eating turns into an escape, and the realization of this country's status quo to be thin take its toll. A recent Danish study correlated high BMI rates to increased risk in adult heart disease. A doctor from the Center for Health and Society at the Institute of Preventive Medicine in Copenhagen said, "The association we found is very straightforward. The higher a child's BMI in childhood from the age of 7 to 13, the greater the risk of heart disease in adulthood." With McDonald's and Dairy Queen becoming household names, we really can't be shocked at this disturbing statistical data. With health risks presented, many not-so-successful methods of resolving childhood obesity have been presented. Many parents consider signing their children up for a sporting event a supposed quick fix to the predicament presented by childhood obesity. What most don't know is that by forcing something upon a child will never fix anything. If your child doesn't like Little League Baseball, for example, they will most likely just go through the motions and sit the bench until the coach feels like, for the sake of being fair, they should put the child in. Now, the recommended amount of daily exercise all Americans should partake in is 30 to 60 minutes a day, but this may not be the correct way to reach that goal. With a disapproving mindset, thrusting children into an activity you choose for them can actually backfire and leave them hating all kind of exercise altogether. Another solution considered ideal by many parents has been sending children away to fat camp for the summer. The 1995 film Heavyweights and MTV's production of Fat Camp and MTV Doc's movie presentation have given a comical but somewhat realistic glance into what goes on. Now, stashing Snicker bars into bedposts might be extreme, but skipping out on activities by faking injuries and coming back year after year prove how unrealistic this solution truly is. Shipping your child away for a summer will not change their lifestyle or fix the problem. If anything, it can make it worse by giving kids an even bigger negative connotation about their body and lead to the development of feelings that their parents might not want them. Fortunately, there is a constructive approach to overcoming the problem of obesity that has been plaguing our youth for far too long. The website helpcurechildobesity.com spells it out loud and clear. The parents of obese children must begin within the family to identify the problems and custom design a plan for change. Exercise and eating healthy as a family is truly the only sensible solution to the problem of childhood obesity. Parents need to lead by example for the sake of their children's well-being. Family exercise can be more effective than pushing a child into sports because children won't even realize they're exercising or working out. Walking around the zoo, playing soccer in the yard, and swimming are all far less structured than a sporting event at a young age. And if the whole family is involved, it gives kids a reason to participate. Watching parents join in on the fun gives any child a fond memory and can become a desired routine. Completely taking away treats and goodies by sending a child to a diet summer program doesn't have to be the answer either. It's okay to eat those things just in moderation. Having junk food once in a while is actually alright because withholding sweets for too long can lead to binge eating and gluttony. The key is that the entire family works together to stay healthy. By pulling together as a family, children and parents alike can successfully put their foot down. Childhood obesity can be prevented. By discussing the terrible effects this problem has on adulthood, unsuccessful approaches and successful ones, I can only hope the knowledge about this childhood pandemic can soon be dispersed. Admitting there is a problem is the first step, and sadly, too many Americans want to mask childhood obesity for what it truly is. Our country's future needs to be invested in those who will grow up and become the next generation. Childhood obesity can be stopped.